And it was determined that it would not be a good idea. It would prevent quite a bit of risk to me and a fetus if we proceeded. So from there, we had to look at our other options.
We had to decide if, no children, or fostering, or adoption. So, I mean, we talked about it, and Leslie certainly took the lead in this, and she wanted to look at the adoption route.
From there, we had to do our home study. So a social worker came in and checked our house. We were interviewed. A report was then done, which we had to sign off on, and then we basically had to sit and wait. What the Kazakh law wants and what Canadian law wants are completely different. So that was another year of paperwork and difficulties. And I think the hardest times of this whole thing is when there's times where it's very much hurry up, and then there's other times where it's a lot of sit and just wait and wait and wait. And we were actually notified, the official announcement came in March, that we were matched with him.
The first day I saw a picture of him was a Friday afternoon. It was interesting because my dad and my brother, we all work within the same family business, and I'm getting this great news and looking at the picture, and I'm thinking, okay, how do I tell them? So I call my mother to tell her the news and forward her the picture, and she's bouncing off the walls, and she says, well, did you tell your father? And I said, well, no, he's got one of our clients downstairs.
Well, my wife called in, and my secretary buzzed and said, Shirley wants to talk to you now. I said, tell her I'm with a client, and she said, tell him to speak to me, and she said, tell the client you've got to go upstairs for a minute now.
Basically ordered Dad to get up out of the meeting and come upstairs to see the picture, and I turned the screen for him to see the picture, and all he did was point at the screen and say, he's like me. And then you could see the tears.
Yeah, I was born with one hand, and it was quite a shock to my parents at the time. My mom said to me that she had a rough time for the first week or two, but eventually they realized that it was their baby, and they were going to raise their baby, and that's what all was to it.
They kept emphasizing throughout the whole process that, do you really want a child with only one hand? Their mentality is that it's a weakness, or it's an imperfection.
They couldn't seem to understand the fact that we would want him anyways.
When you're born, your father is the exact same. He's missing his right hand, and it's been in your life right from the start. It's never been an issue, because I've in all of my life, it's never stopped Dad from doing what he wants to do, from sports to business to family to whatever.
How could I sit there and say this is going to be a problem when you're looking at this man who's been to the Paralympics, he's plays soccer, he's a great philanthropist in the city, he's a very successful businessman. How can you sit there and say my child won't be able to do any of that? He's the absolute perfect role model.
Personally, I just couldn't wait for him to meet Dad, because I knew they'd have a special bond, so it was pretty cool. Carol had never seen another human being who was similar to him. So he was kind of staring and wide-eyed at Dad when he first saw him.
When we came on, I went over and knelt in front of him, and I just stuck out my hand, and he was sort of taken aback, and he reached out with his stump, and he touched mine. And the reaction, Douglas put it on Facebook the next day to his friends, and there was a significant, positive, teary-eyed reaction from a lot of people. And one of, I think, my daughter's friends had commented that when she saw that he now knows he's not alone. And it's a love story. A couple who couldn't have a child found a child that didn't have parents and was looking for someone to love.